Welcome back, everyone. We are two dudes talking 80s. I'm John. That's my partner in crime, Lewis.
Hello.
And as you can see, we're not being real serious right now, and he just keeps laughing. I don't know why. Lou, why are you laughing so much?
I'm a joyous kind of person, John.
All right. Well, it's kind of freaking me out. I'm not gonna lie. And you're there in the whole dark background, and you look like you're about to commit a crime of some sort.
But I'm not, rest assured.
All right, good. So today we decided we'd talk about some music. It's been a little bit since we've really talked about music, and we kind of floated some ideas around, and basically we landed on we really wanted to talk about kind of one of those unforgotten or forgotten gems that people really don't talk about that much anymore, and that's the 1988 classic, in my book, Cinderella's Long Cold Winter. It was an album that peaked at number 10 in the US charts, actually went three times platinum, and man, it's a great album. Lou, do you remember when the first time you heard? Oh, by the way, I'm drinking and Lewis isn't. I'm on.
I am. I'm just drinking non-alcoholic beverage,
What is
which
in
is
that?
iconic.
How iconic! God damn it! And you're wearing Dawkins. I'm wearing April Wines. One of us can afford a Cinderella shirt. Oops. Do you remember the first time you heard this album?
I don't remember the first time I heard this album. I think I heard their songs on the radio. I think that's how I got introduced to them. And I remember once that, and I think it might have been one of their first big tours. They were opening up for Bon Jovi. And we didn't actually go in to see Bon Jovi, but we went into the Cow Palace parking lot and hung out there and sort of did a barbecue thing with hot dogs and whatnot. And they and heard them opening up, and phenomenal band. I later on saw them in life in real, but I'll talk about that after. But anyway, to answer your question directly, yeah, I don't remember when I actually listened to the album. I don't think I've actually ever listened to the entire album, to be honest. As I'm going through and looking at these songs, I don't recognize some of them.
It's funny because I had a roommate, you know the story, but people that watch this maybe don't, who was legally blind. He was legally blind, completely blind in one eye, and I think he had 20% vision in the other. And for some stupid reason, he still had a driver's license. So
We
he,
let him drive us around.
yeah, I let him drive me around way too often. Yeah, how I'm still alive, I don't know. He had this tape. I had heard like a song or two on MTV, but he had the tape and he played it to death. And I just remember I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I liked a few songs off Night Songs, obviously the hits. I didn't really delve that much into that album. But this one, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I'm digging it, but I never was that impressed until later on when I actually saw him live. And we'll talk about that later. But, you know, of course, I think the first single was Gypsy Road, went to number 20 on the charts. And then it was like their big hit, Don't Know What You've Got Till It's Gone, which went to number 10. I think they released two more singles. They did Coming Home and The Last Mile. Do you have a favorite track off this album?
It would probably be Gypsy Road. Like I said, I haven't heard a lot of the other tunes. I was sort of going through them on YouTube, and some of them really vary. There's some of them they're very sort of bluesy oriented, and it's definitely something I need to sort of take some time and listen to. It looks like there's some good stuff there.
Yeah, the one song that I think they went too far with the bluesy on the next album, Heartbreak Station, in my opinion. But one of my favorites that you never hear anymore is actually the opening cut, which is Bad Seamstress Blues slash Falling Apart at the Seams, and I just think that's a fantastic track. I don't know if you listened to that one while you're doing research for this.
I did not. That wasn't one of the ones I checked out. I checked out Coming Home and what was it? In Second Wind.
Okay, yeah. Surprisingly, Tom Kiefer actually wrote every song on this album. The only one he didn't write was, well, he co-wrote with Eric Brittingham, the bass player, if you don't like it. But otherwise, everything's credited to Tom Kiefer, and for him to write all the songs, sing the songs, play guitar on the songs, be a lead guitar player, it's pretty incredible.
And I think he played piano too as well, right?
Yeah, and obviously he played piano too. So why'd you have to make me look bad? I was calling out all this stuff, and you had to make me look bad. Just let it slide.
No,
Um,
man, I want to give our listeners a well-rounded. It's cool, man. It's cool. You're not expected to know everything about everything or remember everything about everything. So, together we make it a nice, well-rounded package for everybody.
okay, why are you suddenly doing like the baby got back thing? I don't know what's going on over there.
Ah,
Yeah, all right. You know what? It's funny because we had a conversation earlier today about a very famous drummer. And who was that drummer we were talking about?
one of my favorite all-time drummers, Cozy Powell.
Do you know he was the drummer on this album?
I did not.
So, research, he played, for whatever reason, I remember Fred Coury, the drummer. I don't think he was on the original album, but he was obviously in the videos and everything else. I guess when it came time to record this album, they felt that he was still too inexperienced to record the album, and the producer Andy Johns said, "No, we're not going to let him do this." I can't find a ton of stuff about it, but that's essentially what it was. Cozy Powell was the drummer on every song on this album except for one. What song was that? He did. Sorry, I think Second Wind is the only song he didn't do the drums on, and that was done by Denny Carmassi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Another famous drummer. But yeah, so this album was actually recorded by Cozy Powell.
Wow, that boy got around, man. Yeah, I would have never have guessed. I would have never have guessed because I don't hear his signature sound. I don't hear, the fills that I associate with him that, are sort of his thing. What a trip. Wow, that really really good little tidbit, man. That's nice.
That's what I bring to you. I bring that.
You make it well rounded.
Very, very, very well rounded. So we were talking about this, and like I said, I enjoyed this album. I wasn't blown away by it, but I enjoyed it. And at the time, you and I worked at ABI, and I don't remember the girl's name. But there was a gal that we worked with, and she came up to me one day and she says, "Hey, would you be interested in going to the Cinderella concert with me? I have an extra ticket. Would you like to go?" And I'm like, "Concert, free ticket? I'm in." So I don't remember if it was the Shoreline or the Concord Pavilion, but it was Cinderella, Badlands, with Jakey Lee and Ray Gillen, and
Right.
I think the opener was from a band called Tangier. So we
Okay.
went and saw that show. We had lawn seats, but for whatever reason, I guess the show didn't sell that well. And so what they did was they had gone ahead and blocked off a certain part of the upper seating, and they told you, hey, if you want to go to those seats, as long as you're behind, the whatever the line that they had, you could sit there, and it was open seating. So of course, we're like, okay, well, that's closer. We get to sit down. Let's do that. And again, I went because it was a free ticket. Somebody invited me. You know how I was. I was like, sure, I'll do something, whatever. I kind of became the go-to person for everybody that had some idea of, or needed a plus one. I was that guy, and I went with very, very low expectations, and I was absolutely blown away. Um, I've seen a lot of concerts, and I will say Cinderella the band was one of the all-time best bands that I've ever seen. The way they recreated those songs and their sound was just immaculate. Um, just absolutely blown away by the show, the performance. They only had two albums out. They pretty much played both albums. I don't remember if they did any covers or anything like that. Um, or for Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone. I don't remember if they lowered Tom Kiefer and the piano, or just the piano. Probably he had to be on it, right? I think he was playing it when it was coming down. This was a long time ago.
Mhm.
But just an amazing show. And then I remember many years later, I saw them again. I think it was like 2000, 2001, at the Gibson Amphitheater. It was Poison was a headliner, Cinderella, Dawkins, and Slaughter. And we went to the Gibson Amphitheater. Nothing had changed, man. Cinderella was absolutely amazing. What a great band live.
I went to that same well, that same show, different venue, but it must have been the same tour. Because I wasn't a huge Cinderella fan. I again heard him on the radio and thought that they were a good band. Singer sounded a lot like Brian Johnson to me from AC/DC, just transplanted into more of a hair metal band. And so I went to go see Poison and Dokken, and Cinderella was actually supporting Poison. There, they came out right before them, and same experience, man. I was just absolutely blown away. I would like close my eyes, and it's like, oh my god, everything is just so tight and so perfect. It just sounded like you were listening to the CD, right? It just sounded that good, that precise. And yeah, it was a trip because I kept thinking, to myself, Poison must just hate it that these guys are coming in every night and just kicking their asses. It's just they were. I'm with you. That had to be one of the best live shows, if not the best live show I've ever seen, as far as music precision goes.
Yeah, it was amazing, and I don't feel like they had lost anything off. Through at that time it had been what, maybe 12, 13 years since I had seen them, and
Hmm.
they were still just incredible. And
Yeah.
man, what a performance! So
Yep. Absolutely tight, and just like I said, you close your eyes and it felt like you were listening to the CD. It was just everything was just that spot on, and I don't think I've ever heard a band play that tightly, that well. It just everything, the mixing on it, this production is just amazing, just amazing.
yeah, one easily one of the best shows I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of shows, but yeah, and then unfortunately, as with so many of these bands, we never really got to see them get back together. I don't know if they might record one more album after they got back together. I'd have to double check on that. I don't remember it. And then sadly, Tom Kiefer is still doing music and still playing and performing. Um, but unfortunately, they never got back together, and the lead guitarist Jeff LaBar, or one of the lead guitarists, always said that that was his fault. That Tom Kiefer didn't want to deal with him due to his substance abuse issues. Cheers, brother. Even though you're not drinking alcohol.
Cheers.
Ooh, I feel like I'm back in Greece. He didn't want to deal with him due to his substance abuse issues. That they had paid for him to try and get him clean. He had gone several times, never really took, unfortunately. And a few years ago, he sadly passed away, which kind of ended, any hopes or dreams of us seeing the Cinderella reunion that I think we all were hoping for and waiting for.
Yeah, that's a bummer, man. You know, I I've never been in show business. I know that you have to be tempted with a lot of things like drugs, and it's very easy to get sort of hooked onto that kind of stuff. Very, very sad that the guy fell prey to that and unfortunately succumbed to it. That just sucks.
Yeah, it's really sad, but I was kind of hoping for a little bit of a renaissance. I don't know. You don't watch the show, but for those that are fans of the Karate Kid, obviously there's a show called Cobra Kai, and I think it was the first or second season, but Johnny Lawrence was often wearing a Cinderella shirt, which I thought was super cool that he was representing Cinderella. Of course, neither of us actually are wearing a Cinderella shirt. Oops. I've run out of room for shirts, to be fair, so I have to be very selective of what I do purchase.
Yeah, I don't have any Cinderella shirts, and it's the same thing with me. I'm just that I've got this box full of black shirts that I wear every so often, and it keeps just getting, filled up more and more. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah, you've got to be selective. Um,
yes.
so let's talk about the big hit from your album. Don't know what you've got till it's gone. Um, Before this, I was watching it on YouTube. You know, even though I have that song memorized, incredibly, incredibly well. I can hear it in my head all the time. Great song, great lyrics. And the thing that I found really fascinating, at least reading, the comments in YouTube, was how many young people were listening to that song and reacting to that song and felt like it was something that was, even though it was recorded in the 80s, late 80s, that still had these themes that were still very true for today, and themes that were very relatable, and they were relating to this music. They called it timeless, which is kind of funny because there's still part of me that thinks it's kind of, I mean, I know it's not new, but it's strange for me to think of this as like this is now classic rock when I grew up with it. But what do you think about that, that it transcends generations?
Definitely lyrically for sure. It's something that I think will ring true probably forever. It's one of those things that with anything, right? I mean, your health, somebody that you loved, or something that you had that you took for granted, you truly don't appreciate it until it's gone. So I think it is timeless. The lyrics are, I mean, the music obviously is reeks 80s, which I'm totally okay with. Uh, as far as the lyrics go, very much so, very timeless.
Yeah, even the people that were commenting were, I guess, yes, that you're correct that that's a very 80s sounding song. The 80s power ballad, which was so incredibly popular, but so incredibly well done too. And a lot of them were like, wow, I wish I lived through this era. There was just so much great music, and I continue to discover it. And I wish I was part of that scene. And there was even comments like, "You guys that lived through it don't know how truly lucky you were to be able to experience all this and to see these bands live in their prime and everything else." And it kind of made me feel good to behold.
Feeling good to be old. I don't think I've ever said that one in the same sentence. And that's really cool. That's really neat that you got, this younger generation that's having this appreciation for the 80s. I totally appreciate what we went through, right? I totally appreciate the decade that we sort of were young in. And I don't think I would choose any other one if I could. It was awesome. It was just absolutely awesome seeing bands, like this one, which I didn't actually see in their heyday, but saw a lot of other ones, and you know, it was just an amazing time. It was an amazing time. Technology wasn't so out of control that it was, the main focus of everybody, and you still had this admiration for these larger than life bands, and it was different. It was a different time, and I'm totally fortunate to have grown up in it, as are you.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about it is, with the advent of social media and everything, which is obviously for bands, they can use it to their favor or marketing, things like that. You know, Back in our day, if you wanted to hear about a band, you'd read a review, take a chance based upon an album cover. Maybe you did tape trading, saw it on MTV, whatever. But now there's, so many ways to market your band using social media, but I also think it's kind of takes away of some of the mystery, I think, about the bands, right? Like like you read about Journey fighting or even Cinderella, right? And it's
Hmm.
like, I don't want to know about that. I just want to know, that they were out there rocking and they had fun, and in my mind, they all got along great. And I don't want to know about, all the negatives that they sometimes bring up, and I think that's one of the unfortunate things about that. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I've got to ask you this. I'm sure they weren't the first band to do it, but in my opinion, they popularized it. Did you ever try and do the Cinderella guitar spin around?
No, I was always afraid of knocking myself out with that. So no, no, I never tried that.
No. Okay.
Did you? I think you did.
I did. I actually kind of put a really big dent in a classic antique dresser where I went thunk, took a big chunk out of it. Like, oops. I don't know how that happened. I really don't. I think what was
How
worse
was
is
your
when they spun it the other way. I tried. I think I hit my head doing that one.
how did your guitar fare through that?
I didn't use it the best guitars on it. I tried it with things that guitars were like, okay, if this, doesn't survive, that's okay. But I remember the very first show that my band played. We didn't have a singer. We used to practice at this warehouse, this giant warehouse that was a lot of fun back then. And I think we invited a few people. We played all instrumentals, and because I think we were getting kicked out of there. They were selling it or something was happening. But we performed all instrumentals, and we had some people there. And I actually went out and got a wireless so I could do that during the performance. And I think I actually chickened out during the performance. Like, oh yeah, I could just see this, going like this. It's just going across the room or the warehouse, and like I better not try that. So yeah, it never actually happened outside of the John Antonelli bedroom, unfortunately.
That's too funny, man. So did Cinderella do it before Ingve did it?
I remember Cinderella doing it first. I remember Cinderella doing it the first song off Night Songs, which was not Shake Me. What was oh yeah, Shake Me. I think it was Shake Me when I saw them do it. That's the first one I remember. I think they did it before Ingve. I don't remember him doing it before I saw Cinderella, so I'll give them credit. I'm sure somebody else did it before them, but they're the ones I actually remember during Shake Me doing the guitar spin. So yeah, if you ever came into my bedroom and want to see some like real cool guitar spinning, yeah, that was the only place you saw it. My band, I remember live shows, and it's like, God, we would hurt each other sometimes, performing, and I'm like, that's the last thing I need to do. I'll never forget. We played a show, and it was literally the first song, and we were barely into the song, and our singer swung around and threw his elbow and clocked me on the jaw.
Oh man.
And I just remember putting my head down so my hair would fall over me. And I'm like doing this, trying to figure out if my jaw was broken, blood was coming out of my mouth, and I was like, okay, you can't pass out. The show just started. And he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." Um, I took a shot that night, and so there was definitely some some violence involved in our shows, and I feel the need to throw a guitar around, spinning it around to add to that violence.
Wow, man. Yeah, that must have not been very good, especially at the beginning of a show, right? Wow.
Yeah, I made it through. Yeah, I can take a punch or elbow in
Or
the
an elbow.
or an elbow, which is probably worse. Trying to think, I have my notes here. So you didn't know about Cozy Pal, huh? I feel I'm so proud of that little bit.
No, man, that I think that's absolutely awesome. I feel enlightened, and thanks to you and your amazing research. Yeah, had no idea, had no clue,
Amazing research. Yeah.
would never have guessed that Cozy Pal was playing that ever. If somebody told me that, it's like I don't hear it. I'll have to go back and listen to see if I can pick up any of his nuances.
Did you ever ride with Mark or be in the car with Mark while he was playing that tape? Do you remember that?
I don't remember, John. Yeah, I don't.
You were probably too busy holding on for dear life, thinking I'm gonna die. I literally have a blind person driving me right now.
Poor Mark.
Oh, I
God
mean,
bless him, man.
let's be honest. He probably shouldn't have been driving, and we're young and stupid. Like, oh, what's the worst that could happen? I don't know. The guy's legally blind. There's probably a lot of bad things that could have actually happened at that time, but thankfully none of them did.
And how did the poor gentleman get issued a license to start with, right? Oh yeah, you're good. Here you go.
I think it was one of those things, like even now, right? Like, when's the last time you went in to retake your test for, like a driving test for your license? I haven't. I've been driving since I was 16.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you. I have a very good point.
That one's too easy. That's too low hanging fruit. I'll leave it alone.
Thank you. And don't come at me, bro. I'm certainly not in a position to have any sort of comeback. So explain the lighting. It really looks like you just broke into this place and decided to record this podcast.
Oh, I just wanted to do something different, man. I just figured I was going to turn the light on. I'm like, let me take a look at this. No, I look sort of sinister in this. I like the vibe. I'm wearing a black shirt, and I'll just go with this.
It's really dark, so I'll wear the shades because that's my signature, and it's none more black.
It's what we did in the 80s, man. We always wore shades in the dark. Well, not in the dark, but not necessarily in the sunlight.
You wear your sunglasses at night.
So I can.
I don't remember ever wearing sunglasses in the 80s. I don't even wear them that often now.
Yeah, it's very rare that I wear them nowadays, but yeah, I've had these since the 80s. These are Varnays, so and they were the thing, I guess, in the 80s. And yeah, I wore them a lot.
All right. So, do you have anything that we're recording this on a Thursday night? We have the weekend coming up. Do you have anything 80s related coming up for you this weekend?
I'm going to be cleaning the house, listening probably to Cinderella's Long Cold Winter to see if I can pick out Cozy Powell playing in the background.
That sounds very 80s, but more like an 80-year-old man. But okay, we'll take it. Whew. I'm actually going tomorrow to the YouTube theater, and I'm seeing a double bill of Halloween
Nice.
Hammerfall.
Oh,
So, a
awesome.
couple German heavy metal bands. I'm not a real big fan of Hammerfall. They're okay. Um, but I really love Halloween. Especially the Keeper of the Seven Keys albums. Those were fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that performance. Should be something really special. And the YouTube
Very cool.
Theater is one of those places. You were there. It's inside of SoFi Theater or SoFi Stadium. Um, it's a smaller venue. Obviously, it's inside of a stadium. Not a lot of atmosphere in the place. It's one of those places where you're gonna go and go like, there's nothing here. It doesn't really scream atmosphere, but in terms of sight lines and sound, the one time I was there was absolutely amazing. So I expect it to be the same. And I have a very good seat, so I'm really looking forward to the show. I think it's going to be excellent, and it's going to be kind of 80s, and I'll represent.
Awesome, man. That sounds exciting. Is it the original guys from Halloween, or is it? I don't know that much about Halloween, so is it like the prominent lineup that
So what they did a few years back is they had kind of moved on with most of the band, um, and they decided to reunite called Pumpkins United, and they brought back some of the not necessarily original guys. Like Kai Hansen was original, Michael Kiske, who was we all thought was going to be the new singer in Iron Maiden when Bruce Dickinson left. He was there later on, but for like their most successful albums, and they came back, joined the group, and toured, and which was interesting because it's two vocalists now, and you would think there'd be egos, but apparently they both get along great, and it was a lot of fun. They would switch things off, and they enjoyed it so much they recorded an album, and they're doing another tour. So very fortunate to see bands like this still around, and I'm gonna definitely enjoy it.
Spectacular, man. Sounds like it's going to be a blast.
It will definitely be that. Anything you want to add about Cinderella's Long Cold Winter, or are you just still too blown away by Cozy Pal?
No, that one's going to take a while for me to absorb. Like I said, I'm really anxious to go back and listen to some of this stuff. That just blows me away.
Definitely check out Falling Apart at the Seams. It starts out really kind of bluesy and everything, gets in like a really cool rocker, great opener. I think you're gonna love that track. So
Awesome.
enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoyed this as well. Let us know what you think about Cinderella's Long Cold Winter. If you have favorite tracks in there, especially the deep tracks, please put in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and Lewis, brother, take us out.
Peace out.
Thank you guys.